What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Horrorheads podcast. I am Rich Mallery, here with my co-host, Jerry Lourenco.
What's going on?
We're also here today with Josh Spero, author Josh Spero, who's going to talk about his new book, hall-lore-ween. You could follow us on Instagram at horrorheadspodcast, or you can email us at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. So that's pretty much it. So before we kind of get into some stuff and get to know Josh a little bit, Jerry, so I know you finally watched Maxine and did not have positive thoughts about it. So I just really quick, I was kind of in the middle on it where I thought it was okay. I thought it wasn't bad, but I thought it was okay. It was somewhat entertaining. Like, there were a lot of things I didn't like about it. I did like that it was very different and not what I expected. And it's a movie I haven't seen, but I know when we were texting about it, you felt very strongly about it, not in a positive way. So what would you think about it?
Oh man, I planned my entire Saturday night just to watch this film, and I was really let down. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting something more like X, but honestly, this was probably the worst trilogy I've ever seen in my life. I don't think these are really strong movies put into this trilogy. I think they sequentially got worse as they went on. I just wasn't feeling it, man. It was barely a horror film.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a horror film.
Yeah, it just feels like Mia Goth has way too much creative control, and it played out just like, a homage to her acting. It just wasn't for me. I found it very boring. I found like 20-30 minute stints where literally nothing was happening. I couldn't care less about the dialogue or the story or even the characters. Yeah, of course, there were some cool parts. I know the scene that you're talking about in the beginning in the alley where the guy was going to like mug her with a knife. Yeah, but I mean, it's just few and far between. I wasn't feeling it. I'll probably never watch again.
Did you watch it, Josh? Did you see Maxine yet?
I have not. No. I'm actually foreign to that whole trilogy, but I know I need to dive into it.
I mean, I don't know you need to dive into it. I mean, again,
No.
I know Jerry doesn't like the movies. I think they're all very different. I think they're okay. I think X was probably the best of the three. Pearl, to me, is not great. At least not something that I found entertaining. I need to give Maxine another watch. I saw it like a while ago when it premiered. And again, I wasn't as bored by it as Jerry was, but I also was not like overly excited about it. Okay, cool. Well, that's our hot take on Maxine.
Yeah,
I know we talked about that movie a lot.
Sorry. Yes, not sorry.
Okay, so before we kind of get to know Josh and talk about his book, we are going to do what we do best over here, and that is we're going to drink some whiskey. So I will show you what I have tonight. I have something called Bear Fight, and I bought it because there's a raging bear on it. It is American single malt whiskey, small batch. And what's funny about this is, like, I actually thought it was bourbon for some reason. And when I tasted it, I was like, this really tastes like scotch to me. And now I see why. It's like single malt whiskey. So I'm going to pour this. Josh, what do you got there for us tonight? I know you said you have multiple things, but what are you starting with?
Yes, sir. I'm starting with my favorite sipper, small batch Basil Hayden.
Yeah.
You guys like Basil Hayden?
We do.
Yes.
We
okay,
do.
Cool. So here's my impromptu commercial on it. You ready? 10-second impromptu commercial on Basil Hayden. Are you looking to come home and take the edge off? There's nothing better than small batch Basil Hayden Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's sweet. It's smooth. It gets the job done. All these things, and it won't destroy your wallet. Basil Hayden. Enjoy the finer things.
I will buy 10 cases of it right now, and hopefully they were listening and give us a sponsorship. Very cool. All right, Jerry, what you got there?
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thank you.
Jerry, you're up.
Cheers. I'm drinking
Oh, the Envy.
Angel's
Nice.
Envy tonight.
Which I think I drank that on our first episode, actually.
Yep, I got the Angel's Envy. It was a birthday gift, so I'm pouring it.
That's right. Happy birthday a couple weeks ago. All right, let's cheers to Jerry's birthday and to
thank
the
you.
success of Josh's new book.
Hey, salud.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, this definitely, again, it tastes like tastes like a scotch right here. It's not bad. It's just, again, it wasn't what I expected. It's high proof, I would think, for a scotch, like 96.
You're making me want to buy a bottle.
That is actually not the proof. I'm sorry. It is 90 proof. And yeah, I mean, it's got a bear on it. So you expect it to hit, right? You expect
The marketing.
Bear fight should hit, and this
Work.
does hit. It's definitely, you get a little burn with it. How about you, Josh? I know you just going to describe the basil. Actually, you just went through that. We know all about it. It's sweet, smooth, and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
make your
It's a dried fruit finish. Very sweet, very smooth. I mean, I'm sure you guys have had it. There's like no bite at the end of it. It's just good warmth. Anybody listening, go buy a bottle of Basil Hayden.
I love Basil Hayden. I usually get like a little bit of a peppery taste when I drink the basil. Are you getting any of that, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. A slight bit.
Nice.
I see that. Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is my constant sipper, man. Like if I come home, I need to take the edge off. I do. I pour a little Basil Hayden and have fun.
I'm a big fan of the Angel's Envy myself. I feel like it's very smooth and just an easy bourbon too. Jerry, what are you thinking about it?
I mean, it's super smooth. So it's finished in like a port wine barrel, and that really gives it like a sweet kind of brandy or like a sherry kind of taste to it. And then it just goes down nice and smooth. I think it's 87 proof. So it's smooth and it'll get you fucked up. So I recommend Angel's Envy, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun drinking it tonight.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have some fun drinking. Again, we're going to talk to Josh pretty much right now to get to know him a little bit. We're also are going to talk about some movies today. Once we get to know Josh a little bit, we're going to talk about some horror comedies. We're going to talk about the classic Sam Raimi movie, Army of Darkness, which, as most of you know, is a sequel to the Evil Dead films. We're going to talk about Shaun of the Dead, the British comedy horror movie that is actually celebrating his 20th anniversary and is going to be in theaters at the end of this month, which I actually did not know about. I was like, that's pretty exciting. Focus Features is gonna put it back, give it a run. I believe they remastered it. And then we're going to talk about a movie which I actually really love, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which I didn't think I would like. I really thought I was going to hate this movie, and Jerry told me about this movie a long time ago, and I did not want to watch it, but I trusted him, and it's actually, I love it. It's like really good. So we're going to get
Wasn't it surprisingly delightful?
Surprisingly.
I
Surprising.
had the same outlook. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they making me watch? Because I had not seen it yet. And then I watched the movie, and I actually watched it with my wife, and we were laugh out loud, just dying, like side splitting laughter. So yeah. Well, I can't wait to dive into that one too.
So anyway, so we do have a guest. Yeah, we're gonna talk to Josh about his new book. It's hall-lore-ween. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what can people expect? I read it the other day. Give us, I guess, the elevator pitch on it.
Listen, it is simply put my obsession with Halloween puked onto pages, right? So here's a little backstory on it really quick, and I'll try to make it quick. I used to be a teacher with kids with special needs, and I was doing a literature class, and I thought, how fun would it be if I partnered them up in groups and like had them write a Halloween story, because it was around Halloween time. And I said, cool, I'll jump in, right? Just to kind of have my version so they could read something. And that's actually when I created the last story, the New in Town story. And I wrote that like years ago. And I had so much fun doing it. I'm like, there's something to this. Like, this is fun. So I created another story and then another story. And then all of a sudden, one day I just decided to put my foot down and make it real and just pursue it. And the relentless journey of trying to get published was, hard. But, I just didn't take no for an answer. I kept going and I finally got it done. So the elevator pitch is this. It is Halloween goodness. Hopefully after you read this, Rich, you like just felt like, okay, the spooky season could commence, right? So it's just Halloween goodness, short stories, because I didn't think I had the literary maturity to actually write like a novel. So I'm like, all right, let's write some fun stuff. And then it just turned out so good. And then poems, I just like poems. They're easy to write. You get a feeling and you can just go with it. And then I just had friends do the spooky illustrations, because who didn't read scary stories to tell in the dark when they were young? And I remember reading it scaring the shit out of me. And then I wanted to read it again, and it still scared the shit out of me. And I wanted to read it again, and so forth and so forth. And I wanted to give that to some kid or some family out there, but still write something that's great for adults, that adults could still sink into. And any fan of Halloween obviously needs to get this book. And I pray you guys loved it, but I want a review on it. Please talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to read, like you said, and well, not like you said, but it is really easy to read. The stories really flow really nice, and I really appreciated the illustrations. I was going to ask if you did them yourselves or if you had someone do it, and it definitely had echoes of that scary stories to tell in the dark, and it's definitely something again where you can kind of like just pick it up, and like I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it, but it's it's deep enough to like really get you interested, but it's like flows enough that you could just, again, you could read a story like in an afternoon, and it just kind of goes really quickly. I feel like it would make a good graphic novel also. I would love to kind of see more illustrations.
Ooh, awesome. Great thought. Love it. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's it. I'm really pushing it. I want it to sell millions, obviously. So, and the good thing is I coordinated with my publisher. It's not super expensive for books, so I want to make it super affordable, just so there's no barriers or obstacles in getting it, right? So that anybody can pick it up.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of goes across like multiple age groups, right? Like it's like the adults I think will enjoy it because the stories are interesting and creative. I think there's nothing that's like overly, graphic or super intense where I think that like, if you were like a teenager, you could probably find some enjoyment in this too. It's not like I don't think anyone's kind of like barred from it, right? I think even you could even go a little
Exactly.
younger with some of the stories, right? Especially as like a lot of them do kind of feature younger kids.
Yep, absolutely. I think the only story that doesn't have to do with a younger kid is the first one, They're Calling, which we'll get into it. That's my favorite, although there's a very resounding fan favorite for the Johnny Leopold story.
I would say that's my favorite is the Johnny Leopold story.
Yeah, you see, it's resounding that the Johnny Leopold story is, and the cute thing about Johnny Leopold is that's my life story. So I wrote like how Johnny Leopold was, like the description of who he was, the troublemaker, but very like would woo everybody, and that was me. So all the way down to the Uncle Mike taking him to the pumpkin patch, like all of that is real. And I don't know if you put two and two together. There's a dedication in the beginning of the book, and it was to my late Uncle Mikey or Mike Bushler. That is the Uncle Mike of the story, like kind of like a loose translation. So there's so much of me in here. It's so real and so raw that if you guys don't know, now you do. Maybe it'll add some context.
Yeah, I read it over multiple days, so actually I didn't pick up on that, right? Because I read the first story, and then a couple of days later I got into that one. So that's interesting to know. I love when there's little Easter eggs like that.
100%. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Like that was lovely.
So actually, my favorite was New in Town. I feel like we just did like the werewolves episode, and here I am reading a story about werewolves, and I just really got into like the characters, and I thought the characters were like so well developed for like such a short story, and it moves so quickly. Like I actually loved it, and I didn't see the twist coming at the end, so I was like, man, this you really tied it in well. So I was thinking like. A lot of your stories, whether it's, Johnny Leopold or New in Town or even They're Calling, like they really bring up a lot of like that nostalgia and a lot of that like small town kind of feel. It's like I could almost like picture myself being there. What town are you envisioning? What is this where you grew up? Is this where you want to live? Where is that coming from? Where's that inspiration coming from?
That is a fantastic question. Are you ready for this answer?
Yes.
I'm from the San Fernando Valley and Whittier. Like I'm the city boy, Los Angeles County through and through. I've always been obsessed with the small town. Obviously, okay, going back and growing up with like Hocus Pocus, obviously Halloween Town, and I just always felt like Halloween was done better in small rural towns. So I just became like obsessed with them. I mean, when you see a picture of like a northern East Coast town on Halloween with all the fall colors, like there's a feeling there. So I've just became obsessed with that. So no, I'm actually not from a small town. I very rarely ever visited a small town, so this is just kind of it's really funny, man. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, it's like, create the world that you want to live in. And I totally got like that small town feeling, whether it was, regardless of the story, I felt like it really kind of resounded in Their Calling. I feel like it was just like so built out, especially like, in the local diner and all the characters that you would meet in a local diner. And of course, there's like some sort of weird outsider showing up, and everyone's like, "Who's this?" And I love the classic trope of they give her a warning, but she refuses to listen. So it had so many elements in it that you just yeah, you get like that horror feeling, you get that small town feel. It was a lot of fun. I also noticed a lot of 80s references, especially when it came to like music and things like that. I mean, is that you? Is that what you do on the daily? You listen to 80s? Is that like, your years, or you just have a preference? What's the deal with the 80s?
The song reference in Their Calling with the Talking Heads reference was actually put in by my editor. and I loved it. She kind of gave that little Easter egg, the psycho killer, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, perfect. Like, she didn't even ask me permission. She just gave it back. And I'm like, and I read that. I'm like, yep, like that's why you're my editor, and I appreciate you. So Lee Frayling, mad representation, like mad respect for that. But no, the 80s vibes, I mean, I was born in the 80s, right? Like I feel like most of us were. And I think we're all attracted to our where we grew up, right? Because that's what we know best. And that's definitely why all the 80s references are in there. But no, man, you can't pin me anywhere. I'm so eclectic, it's insane, bro. Like you know what I mean? Like I'll literally turn on Louis Prima and some swing music, and then turn on like Children of Bodom and listen to some extreme metal the next record. So
So would you say like your literature and film tastes are eclectic as well, or do you have any favorites? Like, who are some of your influences? Who are some of your favorites, whether it's whether in film or authors?
oh man, yeah. I mean, obviously authors go back to the classics. Like R.L. Stein, obviously. Yeah, scary stories to tell in the dark. Anything like Are You Afraid of the Dark type stuff. Growing up was huge. Um, the more scared I got, the better. You know what one of my biggest influences are actually is go back to 1982 and go back to the Thriller video, right? Like tell me when you were little that
Scared
didn't
the hell out of me.
ever living shit out of you when you were a kid, but it still stands the test of time. It's phenomenal. I watch it each time and I feel that feeling again. Like even though now I'm old and I love horror, it's still like, ugh, like kind of like gives me the shivers, you know what I mean? Which was huge. So film wise, oh my gosh, man, if you're asking for my top five, this is tough. But resounding number one is the Evil Dead trilogy, the original Evil Dead trilogy. Like I have the cover here. Fun fact: I have the cover movie portrait of Army of Darkness tattooed on my thigh, signed by Bruce Campbell.
Whoa, that is
Awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Super
yeah.
fan. Yeah.
100%. I met Bruce Campbell at his red carpet premiere of Bubba Hotep. And I had already had the tattoo, and I shaved a spot for him to sign because I knew I was going to get it tattooed right away. And he did Q&A, and I thought he'd walk through the theater, but he went out the back exit. I'm like, oh shit! So I had to run through the theater. Like I'm just glad nobody tackled me, thinking like I was going to take him out. I ran like through the theater, ran out the back exit, and I stopped him in the alley. And at first he's like, whoa, like who are you? And I just explained everything. And he was one of the coolest dudes I've ever met in my life. But yeah, he signed my leg, went straight to a tattoo shop, got it tattooed on me, and yeah.
That's funny. I remember seeing I saw Bubba Hotep in the theater also. And it's funny, I feel like that movie just disappeared. Like I don't think you could find it anywhere. I have not like just come across it like on streaming platforms or anything like that. I'm sure it's like had its life on DVD, but yeah, it's like one of those movies I think is kind of lost. Like you never hear people talking about it. I
I agree.
remember liking it when I saw it. However, I barely remember anything about it because that was so long ago,
Sure.
right? That was probably 20 years ago.
Sure.
So I would like to give it a rewatch and see if I feel the same way about it.
It's wacky, man. It's
Oh yeah,
wacky. It's
it's a
phenomenal.
bizarre fucking movie for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, could I twist the mic a little bit? And I don't mean to hijack the thing, but I actually have questions for you, Rich.
Yeah, let's do it.
So obviously I did a lot of research. I listened to a lot of your podcasts. My guy, you're a director.
I am.
You're a movie director. Like that's huge. That's awesome. And if it's not celebrated enough on the show, it should be. Obviously, it's awkward talking about yourself. But like I kind of went in and like you have a laundry list like of movies that here's my question to you. So even for your listeners out there, I want to start the Rich Mallery movie purge, right? Like where am I starting? Like what's the movie I should start with?
So yeah, and my movies are all somewhat different, I think, as I've kind of grown as a filmmaker. I definitely started out doing more horror and I've kind of moved on to kind of almost, I feel like I create my own genre. I'm doing a lot of like edgy, sexy, psychological type thrillers. For me, I think I get better every time. So if I had to say which one should people start with, I would say my last one, We Are Wolves, which is my LGBT BDSM thriller. I just love that movie. I'm in post-production right now on two movies, and once those come out, I will probably say those are the ones to start with. But I would definitely say that like I really love I have a really good like solid place on my heart for this movie Felines I did, and why I love that movie so much. I wouldn't say it's like my best movie, but it's probably the one I like the best. It's because it was when I decided to not give a fuck what other people thought And I started out trying to make movies I thought other people would like. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this because this will be popular. People will like this or they'll like that. And then I kind of was giving up on filmmaking, and I said, I'm gonna make one more movie. I'm gonna make the movie I want to make, and I don't care if the whole world hates it, but it's gonna be my movie and it's gonna be personal. And that is my favorite. And I did it, and it was actually like probably the most popular one that I've done, or one of the most popular ones I've done. It really kind of motivated me to kind of really push forward. And since then, I've done like I think like 4 or 5 other movies since then, all very different. And for me, again, it's about I'm trying to do something every time you haven't seen before. So I kind of feel like while my movies kind of exist in a similar universe, I feel like they're all very different stories. And I thank you for asking me that. But yeah, I would say start with We Are Wolves and then work your way backwards, I would say. And you could find them all on Tubi if you want to watch them.
Sir, you are inspiring me. Let's go make a movie.
Let me finish these two. I'm editing first because I'm a bit overwhelmed right now.
Shameless plug. If you want to make any of my stories into films, let's talk, bro. I got so many, it's insane, bro.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I am actually looking to do a horror film at some point. Probably, I don't know if it'll be my next one, but definitely like the next handful of films I am going to do go back to horror, but I'm going to do it again, horror my way, not everybody else's way. So I'm super stoked.
Rock and roll, dude.
Yeah,
You're phenomenal, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you. That means a lot. I work my ass off. Yeah, cheers to that. Sure. Cheers.
Cheers to
Cheers
Rich.
to me.
That's amazing.
Cheers.
My personal favorite is Matroid, but that's me.
Matroid, yeah. You know what? Matroid probably is my most popular movie for some reason. It's one that I didn't like as much, but people do seem to love it, and they love it so much that I made a sequel, which I'm finishing up now, and I love the sequel. The sequel I think is going to be incredible. It's definitely something different. You've not seen this movie before.
I'm not gonna lie. I read your whole list of movies, and that's the one I'm like, just the name alone. Okay, I'm seeing that one for sure. Like, I need to see that one. Like,
yeah, Matroid's one of those movies where you go into it thinking it's going to be something, and it's something completely different. And the feedback I get, it's like people are surprised by how much they like it, because it is kind of like this sexy, erotic, almost softcore-ish kind of movie. But it's also, in my opinion, pretty smart and like kind of makes you think. And I think people go into it thinking that they're going to get Skinamax and they get a little something more. That's something I love to do personally. It's like I want to like show you something, get you hooked in, and then like I like to say I make art house movies for people that don't like art house. Like you wouldn't give it a chance, but you give this a chance and you're like, oh, I actually like this. Like that's kind of where I'm about. So anyway, enough about me. I could talk all day. So you said Evil Dead trilogy. Like what are some other like influence of you film influences?
so here comes the 80s. You ready? Favorite movies of all time. I'm not even like just horror, but predominantly horror. There's a lot of horror on that list. Favorite movie, Evil Dead trilogy, specifically Army of Darkness. Number 2 of all time is Big Trouble Little China, right? John Carpenter. Like, favorite movie.
You know, I've actually never seen that, and I know I need to see it because it's a classic. It's just there's a lot of movies that I just never got to, and that's like one of those that I'm always.
It's the name. It's the name.
It's a name.
And that was a fun podcast. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I just never got around to it. And it used to be on TV all the time, and I just never. It would always catch it in the middle. I'd be like, oh, I'll get this another time, and then 40 years goes by, you never watch it.
You will watch it, and you will thank me for saying, you know what? Thank you for reminding me of seeing it. Second favorite movie of all time, like hands down. I would recite that whole movie word for word. And Kurt Russell, you see, you're going to see a trend in the movies I like, right? It's all about the unlikely heroes, right? That's like my jam. But so that obviously top 5 horrors of all time, you have to throw in the 1982 Thing in there, hands down. Top 5, and one of the most underrated movies, in my opinion, ever, In the Mouth of Madness. Absolutely fantastic film. If you haven't seen In the Mouth of Madness, you're missing out on life, in my opinion. Like, it's just intelligent humor. Yeah, super intelligent. My goodness, I love campy. So have you guys seen Slither?
Is that the James Gunn movie?
I don't know who the director is. I should. But Slither, that movie is campy. It's fun. Again, unlikely hero. I have a soft spot for unlikely heroes. You have to see it. If you haven't seen Slither, please watch it. Like, it almost made this list when you guys talked to me about comedy and horror. Like, I was going to throw that one on there, but I'm like, no, I got to limit it to like 2 or 3 of the greats. So like I removed it, but that one easily, it's in my top 5 horror films. And then of course you got to go big. I mean, the classics will never die, right? The Shining, The Exorcist. But then I like the obscure, right? So like if we're talking about children and where this book came from, there's three movies, and I'll quiz you guys on if you guys have seen them, that scared the ever living bejesus out of me when I was a kid because I saw them when I was like 7 or 8. The first one being The Gate.
Oh yeah, it's a guilty pleasure. I put that on all the time. That movie scared me as a kid, and now it doesn't scare me, but it's creative and I do enjoy it. And I watch it now, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's good. It's not good. But it's like I have nostalgia for it. So I think if you were seeing it for the first time, you might not like it. But if you grew up with it, I think that's like a movie that people just have in their hearts.
And the funny thing about it is like the parts that scare me as a kid still give me the EBGBs, right? When the dude falls through the wall or whatever, like scares the crap out of me. I don't know why, if somebody comes up behind me and does the "you've been bad," I like freak out. Like it's still.
Does that happen often where people are doing that to you? Because that doesn't happen to me.
Well, they know, right? Exactly. So that one, here's a movie that's like so obscure that my wife had to get it for me, but we couldn't even get it in the United States. We had to go to like England, like overseas, like eBay to like get it. Have you guys ever seen not Ghost Ship, but Death Ship? The one from the 80s with, okay, go with me here. I should know actors better. He's a famous actor. He was in Naked Gun as the lieutenant, as the boss. You know,
not Leslie Nielsen.
No, his boss.
Yeah, I don't know.
The old guy. But anyways, he's like one of the main stars in the film. So it's called Death Ship. It's old. I'll give you the quick penny cent version of the premises. It's this like Ghost Ship. There's this atrocity that happens, and this cruise ship goes down, and only a small lifeboat of people survive. And they come across an old Nazi ship in the middle of the ocean, like abandoned old Nazi ship that's been floating out there since like 1944, right? And everyone's dead on board, of course, but the whole ship is haunted by Nazis. And it's the craziest, coolest. Like, and as a kid, it scared me so bad. And I'm not giving anything away. Go see it, right? It's a bad film. It's a terrible film, but go see it. And there's a scene where there's a woman who takes a shower on the ship. And when she's washing her hair, the water turns to blood and all this like horror stuff happens. To this day, if I ever wash my head, I can't close my eyes when I'm taking a shower because I'm afraid it's going to turn to blood. This irrational fear. So, yeah, those are the movies that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And they're so obscure and random, but The Gate and Death Ship, check them out.
So how could people find hall-lore-ween? Like where should we send people?
About my book. I forgot about
that.
Any major platform, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere where they sell books online. It's HALLORE-WEEN. And again, I'm Josh Spero, so you can search for it. Lastly, please jump on. It's HALL_LORE_WEEN for my Instagram. That's kind of what I'm majorly pushing. So yeah, follow me on Instagram, guys. I'll follow you back, and life will be great.
Awesome. Cool. So now let's talk about some movies. And I know you said Evil Dead trilogy basically is some of your favorites. And we did like an Evil Dead episode a while ago where we talked about the original. And I'm definitely a huge fan of the franchise, or at least most of the films in the franchise. And I'm a big fan of Ash vs. Evil Dead. However, I will say that Army of Darkness, I am not exactly a fan of, and I haven't seen it in a long time. So I remember I remember not liking it, but I was like, you know what? It's new eyes. I'm gonna give it a chance. And I'll be honest, it still doesn't really resonate with me. But we'll get into why in a second. So, Josh, would you be comfortable giving us like the 30-second kind of plot for those of you who have not seen Army of Darkness?
30-second synopsis of the movie. Ash, a local supermarket, nonchalant, nobody special gentleman, gets sucked back in time through an evil vortex and gets stuck in the medieval ages with modern age equipment like a shotgun. While he gets sucked through, he needs to get back into his own time. Upon the quest he needs to complete to get that, he awakens the evil army of the dead and a whole army of skeletons that come back to get the book that he needs to obtain to get him back to his own time. So the evil army of the dead, called the Deadites, awaken and seek to get the book back. the book that Ash has taken, and all types of chaos ensues. In the end, you're gonna have to watch and see.
That sums it up pretty well. And it's interesting again, like I will say I do love Ash vs. Evil Dead. I think that's really funny. I like it, and I thought I would like this more. I think what I don't like about Army of Darkness specifically, two things. Like one, I think it's a lot of slapstick. I would say the majority of the movie is slapstick. And I get Sam Raimi's a big Three Stooges fan, and that comes across. I personally am just not a fan of slapstick. Like I can take it in small doses, but I would say 50% of this movie is a lot of that kind of stuff. And I think what I really like about Ash vs. Evil Dead is while that is like really funny and tongue in cheek, I like that there's all these other characters. Not that Ash isn't a great character and Bruce Campbell's not a wonderful actor. This movie basically is the Bruce Campbell movie, right? Where he's it, right? There's not really any other known character other than him. And I think it helps in Ash vs. Evil Dead to have like his crew, which I think are also really funny. So anyway, so I know you picked this movie and I'm, not trying to hate on it too much, but I would love to know kind of what do you love about it? Like why like this movie?
Why is it my number one favorite movie of all time?
Why is it your number favorite? Yeah, why is it the best movie ever made when?
I saw it back in 1982 when it came out, and it just hit. It was the first movie where I'm like, it was almost taboo to like mix horror and comedy, right? And I'm like, wow, this is a thing. First of all, I love campy. The campier, the better for me, right? As long as it's done well, right? So it was a comedy, campy horror that had $1 million budget, right? So the horror was still fantastic. I thought the creatures were amazing, right? Like the pit, like that pit creature, the flying creature, obviously Evil Dead. Okay, let me take a step back. I'm getting all excited. I have one reason why it's one of my favorite movies, and that is simply Greg Nicotero.
The special effects guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about the effects, and I thought the horror elements were fantastic. Yeah, the comedy, I just thought lightened the mood. I am a huge Bruce Campbell fan. I think he's one of the most underrated, under-celebrated actors, and I know like his occult following understands like what he goes through and how he can like literally reverse act and just does his own stunts, and he just throws ambition to the wind. I was watching this making of a little while ago, and they said that he's such a team player and such a phenomenal actor that Sam Raimi used to torture him and make him do like anything. Apparently, he went up to like some filmmaker that worked on the set, and he's like, Sam Raimi was like, watch, I can make Bruce do anything. So he calls out on his little like megaphone thing. He's like, I need you to start flapping your arms like a chicken. And Bruce just does it on the spot. I need you to start squawking like a chicken. So he starts doing that like on film. And he's like, I need you to do all this stuff. And Bruce is just doing it. Like he's such a team player. And he's such a phenomenal, like actual physical actor and this just kind of showcased that, right? So I am a Bruce Campbell fan. I do think that he could be like, he could carry a movie.
Yeah, I know he's great in this movie. Like I can't take anything away from his performance. And just a couple of quick things on what you just said before we kick it over to Jerry. About him kind of doing anything and just really being a team player and just going for it. Like he is heavily involved in the production of these movies, all of them really, where I think he helped fund the original Evil Dead, I think. But there's a scene, I believe, where they're throwing rocks and they used like fake rocks because they didn't want people getting hurt. But Sam didn't like the reaction, so they actually threw potatoes at Bruce Campbell so he could actually get hit with something, which I thought was pretty funny. And then getting to the budget, this actually had a pretty huge budget. So the original Evil Dead was made for, at the time, $350,000, which is a lot for that time, but no money, right? The second one they did for $3.6 million, which I was shocked about. I was like, they spent that much on this? And Army of Darkness, they actually spent $11 million. And one other thing I read was originally they had pitched it as the first half was actually going to be a remake of the Evil Dead movies, which is interesting because Evil Dead 2 is kind of like a remake of 1. And then the back half was going to be Army of Darkness because they didn't think the studio would fund a standalone movie. So they kind of pitched it as a remake, and then it ended up becoming its own thing, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, Jerry, I want to hear your take on this, man. I need some backup here, sir.
I don't think you're gonna get it, to be honest with you.
I don't, it's tough. I probably fall somewhere in the middle. I probably haven't seen this film since the mid-90s. I'm gonna be honest, the Evil Dead films are not really like my favorite types of films. And I'm going to tell you why. I find them very annoying. Just the constant like background noise and like the static that's constantly in the background, the yelling, the screaming, the demons. It's like it just doesn't let up. I find that like a little bit annoying. And this movie was exactly like that as well. I think it looked fantastic, honestly. You could tell like how much money went into these special effects. I guess that was like stop motion that they were doing for like the army. Obviously big explosions, big jump scenes, things like that. I thought that all looked great, but I mean, there was just something about this film. It just didn't connect with me. I don't know why. I feel like the dialogue, everything was just like a punchline, like an unfunny joke to me almost. Like you just throw the dialogue out and just keep the action scenes. When I rewatch this, all these lines are probably like really what the lines that Bruce Campbell is known for. How he got like, so famous, like, this is my boomstick, things like that,
Yeah,
things
they're
that
iconic
people love
lines.
to
Yeah.
like, use as, yeah, like they use as like a catchphrase and things like that. So they're definitely like his classic lines, but I don't know if I love this movie. I just think I like how they tied it in to Evil Dead. I thought that worked well. It was definitely all action. Like once it started, that was it. Like there was not a minute to catch your breath until the end of the film. But I don't know. It's just those little things. I don't think I found them funny enough. I don't know. And I'm completely immature, so I don't know what my problem is.
You know what it was for me? Like, I think it's like it was one joke that kind of lasted a little too long. Like, I think for me the problems were, and I think I read that the script was actually like 45 pages or something like that, which makes sense because, look, there's like long, kind of like similar to Evil Dead 2, there's long stretches of time where it's just Ash getting fucked with. Like the 20 minutes at a time of just like skeletons kind of like beating the shit out of him. And for me, that's funny for like a minute or two. And it just got old for me. And again, I just don't think I'm the right audience for this movie. I do see why people do love it. It's just not for me because again, I'm not a huge slapstick person. You know what it reminded me of in a way? Like, and I had this critique of John Wick 4, and I'm a big fan of John Wick. And for John Wick 4, it's like 15 minutes of nonstop action, 15 minutes of plot, 15 minutes of nonstop action. And in that 15 minutes of action, it's amazing choreography, it's nonstop gunfights, but I just get bored. Like after like 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, we got to do something else because there's only so much I could watch of somebody like shooting up the place. And it's like,
Too much
this should be
action. Yeah.
really cool. Like where I'm like, I love this. It's a nonstop gunfight, but it's too much. And that's how I felt about this movie. It was just things just went on for too long. And again, if you're a fan of that, like I get it. But for me, I needed like breaks in these long scenes of just like the scene where like again he's split into pieces and the three ashes or however many there are of him, he's like fighting them. It just went on for longer than I would have liked. And speaking of the effects, it's really interesting because some of it is really good. The makeup's really good. And then there's some of it that looks kind of bad, but I think it was purposefully done bad because I remember even watching it 20 years ago, the scenes like where it's like clearly like a split screen of like Ash on one level and the miniatures on another. But I think they did that on purpose. Like I think they wanted it to look kind of almost cartoonish because I do remember that like you think, okay, now I have a 4K TV, like it's gonna look bad. I don't remember it ever looking good. I remember it always looking really fake. So I think that was just like intentional. And the one thing I will say, this movie looks is very Sam Raimi, but like over the top Sam Raimi. Like he's using crazy camera angles and movements, like stuff that like probably hadn't seen before this movie. Like he definitely was doing his own thing, and all the tricks he did in Evil Dead, he like multiplied by 10. So it's interesting to watch from like a filmmaking standpoint of he took a lot of risks with this movie, which I do appreciate while I didn't enjoy it.
So the reason why it was so slapsticky is because already Sam Raimi was a big fan of like slapstick comedy, but Robert Tapert came in as the producer and he was a huge like Three Stooges fan. So they're like, dude, we're just gonna like you make the movie we want to make and add what we wanted to add, and they did it unapologetically. Here's some fun facts. Do you guys have any idea what the movie was called when it was released in Japan? Captain Supermarket.
Which I think is hysterical. I think that's a great name for the movie.
They should have went with that.
Yeah. And what did they wanted to call it like the Medieval Dead or something.
That was
And
the original title. Yep.
yeah, and then the
I like
studio
that.
said no.
That too.
And I think they called it that in England when it released, the Medieval Dead or something like that. But yeah, which I think is a great title. Army of Darkness is a good title too and fits the movie. But
Here's another fun element that I don't know if you guys are aware of. So obviously, me being a huge horror fan, one of the my favorite famous people that I met and shook hands with and met, and he was one of the like sweetest, soft-spoken men in the world, is Bill Moseley. And Bill Moseley was in this film, you
I
know?
didn't even realize it till I looked it up on IMDb
Really?
that that was him. Yeah, he's like the main villain.
But he was the Deadite captain, the one with the patch and the white
Yes.
eye and the little horns on the helmet and whatnot. The one that says we have located the book, sir, you know, whatever. So like, yeah, that was Bill Moseley early on in his career,
That's
which is
crazy.
and then of course, dude, we have to mention the fact that Bridget Fonda was in this movie.
I didn't notice that either. Really?
So she played the Linda, right? So each movie had a
Oh.
different Linda. So Bridget Fonda was, and it was funny because they were talking about her in the making of that they got this huge actress, right? And they're like, well, you're not going to do much, and this that she was just game. She just wanted to be a part of it. So they had her in there, and apparently they did do more scenes in the end.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that and the only ending I have seen is the one that the studios made them go with, which is where Ash ends up in the S Mart and he's telling the story. And I think the ending is great. I think it's really funny how he's like telling them the story and they don't believe him. And then all of a sudden happens. And then I didn't even realize that, yeah, apparently the original ending was he ends up in like a post-apocalyptic England and they were trying to set up for a fourth movie. However, the studios, when they saw that ending, hated it and said, "No, you got to change it or reshoot." So they made them do that ending, which I love that ending that the studios ended up picking. I've never seen the other one though, and apparently, again, the plan was to set up a sequel where uses robots to fight the Deadites, but because this movie bombed, like they never got to make that. Yeah, I didn't even know that ending was something you could see. Is it like on a director's cut?
Dude, I used to have a VHS. It was a director's cut, and it was that ending, and it's so small and phenomenal. Uh, Here's a quick synopsis of that. The wise man with the long beard says, "Here's this magic potion. Only take 2 drops or 3 drops. Yeah, it's only take 3 drops of this potion, and you'll go back to your own time." But as Ash does, and he like screws up the words to get the book, he screws up the drops that he takes, and he does like 2 drops, and as he's doing the third drop, like there's a sound, and he looks off to the side just to make sure he's like okay, and then he takes a fourth drop, and now he sleeps too long, and it's just all great like Ash fashion how he screws it up again, and now he wakes up, and it's like super post-apocalyptic. He's like, no, I slept too long, like he starts screaming, and it ends, and it's super fun. So go see it. It's just fun. It adds to the camp factor. I understand why they went with what they did. Not to mention, we cannot not mention the fact that at least the ending that they did gave birth to the infamous "Hail to the King, baby."
Yeah,
Yeah.
classic line. Classic line.
So
Classic.
if they went with the original, we never would have gotten that line. Which, I mean, let's face it, man. Avenged Sevenfold, everybody, right? "Hail to the King, baby." So love the movie. I'm super sad you guys didn't love it, but it's okay, right? That's why people are different.
There were a lot of things I like. I mean, it's just overall, I don't know if it would become like one of my top films, like in my rotation. I mean, there are a lot of things I loved. I love the blood cannon in the beginning. That totally like wasn't expected. Also, all this gore just like flowing up from like that well. I mean, that looked awesome. And I love the fact that, Ash was just like, he was like dumb. He was like a dumb, lovable character. And he did screw up and he didn't really listen. He didn't really like, he's real. That's exactly like how probably I would be if someone was giving me direction. I'd be like, yeah, yeah, I got it, man, I got it. But
Yeah, I
he
do
don't
that all
got
the
it at
time.
all. He's not even paying attention. And to me that was real. And that's where I found like that's really where I found the humor. And I was laughing at like things like that as opposed to like the Gulliver Travels kind of like references with the tiny ashes and things like that. And it was some of those things were just a little too over the top for me, but I mean, there were a lot of things I liked. I think the film looked phenomenal. I mean, it was gorgeous. And the special effects, I mean, for that time, they blew me away. That car, I wish that car was in the movie a little bit longer with a fan blade on it, just like hacking up people. Like,
Yep.
man, should have kept that like another 2 minutes. But there was so much that was right. But I think when it comes down to it, I get annoyed easily. So I don't know if you knew that about me, Josh.
You do get annoyed easily. No, you know what? It's fun to like talk about movies that we don't like as well as movies we like. So it's like it's also good to like understand why someone likes a certain movie because then maybe I go back and appreciate it more because like I probably won't watch this movie for a long time, but I guarantee you I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to be curious, be like, you know what, do because different times of your life you look at it differently, right? Like I'm a different person now than I was 20 years ago, and maybe in 5 years, I'll be different, and maybe I will appreciate the movie for what it is. So like who knows, right? But so it's interesting. Yeah, you love this movie. Jerry's kind of in the middle. I actually really don't like this movie. So someone's not going to be drinking too much and someone is going to be drinking too much. So like before we move on to the next movie, we are going to do our rating system and I will explain what's going to happen for the audience for those tuning in for the first time. And hopefully we have a lot of new Josh Spero fans that come in and this is their first take on us. So what we're going to do is we're going to rate these movies on a scale of 0 to 5 bloody knives, with 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. We could do halves. And how it works is I'm going to give a rating, and that's the number of seconds Jerry is going to drink. Actually, wait, before we do this, Josh, for the night, you need to pick a person to drink with. Do you want to be drinking with Jerry or me? You will also drink on your own too, but you're going to drink with one of us for this portion of the program. So who do you choose, and choose wisely?
As much as I absolutely adore you, Jerry, I choose you, Rich.
You're gonna drink with me. Okay.
Let's
All
go,
right.
baby.
That's you probably will be drinking the most if you drink with me. So okay, so what's gonna happen?
Kiss of death.
I'm going to give my rating. Jerry is going to drink. Then Jerry will give his rating, and then Josh and I will drink, and then Josh is going to give his rating, and Jerry and I will drink. So I am going to start to make it simple, and I am going to, unfortunately, I'm giving this 1.5. That is my score. So Jerry will drink 1.5 seconds, and
that is harsh, sir. But
I'll be honest, I didn't like it. So, Jerry's already drinking. I was gonna talk some more, but Jerry did his 1.5.
No,
all right. So Jerry,
done,
like what are Josh and I drinking? What number of bloody knives you giving this one?
I liked it, but I'm never gonna watch it again. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just not my type of film. It's not my type of humor. I didn't hate it though. There are a lot of things I liked. I'm giving it 2.5.
Okay, I'll cheers to that.
Wait, before you drink, sir, should I mention the second drink that I just made?
So Josh already finished his first drink and just made something else, and that looks like that Caribbean. What is that? Is that the Glen?
So this is the sour bullet, my friend.
Sour bullet.
Sour bullet. So bullet bourbon with sweet and sour mix.
Oh.
Sour bullet. So
I've never had that before, but that sounds delicious. I love sour mix. All right, let's cheers.
Cheers to you guys.
Okay, and now I think Jerry and I are about to get fucked because
Josh is up.
This is Josh's favorite movie.
I'm getting a little nervous here.
His favorite movie, so I expect nothing less than a 5
I'm gonna start
here.
drinking now.
Let me just get the bottle. I'm just gonna drink part of the bottle. No, Josh, scale of 0 to 5, and again, you can pick a half. I know you're not going to on this one, but what do you give this one?
I mean, could I give it 6 bloody knives?
No, you cannot, because I can only drink for 5 seconds. We tested this out, and the amount of seconds I could drink before I puke is 5. So that's why we did 0 to 5.
Load it up, top level. 5.
All right, cheers. 5 seconds.
Bloody knives for Army of Darkness. Bruce, I love you if you're listening.
Oh man. So Josh, if you could say the line exactly that Ash kept messing up when he was supposed to get the Necronomicon, Rich will drink 3 sips right now.
I did not agree to this.
Which then suits me because I got to drink 3 sips, right?
He's drinking with me, so he's got to do it too.
I got you. I want to drink. So do you want the screw up or do you want the real?
I want the real one.
Oh my gosh, easy. Glatu, Ferrata, Nikto.
Woo! All right, guess I'm not drinking.
You got it. You drink. No, you drink. No, I said.
Wait, if he got it, I drink. Oh shit! Okay,
if he gets it, you drink. Yeah, yeah, man. I threw a softball at him.
See, Josh. What ends up happening is after I get a couple drinks in me, and this is my second one. I think I just finished. I forget what the hell's happening and I don't remember. So I need constant reminders.
He doesn't know the game.
Let me remind you, sir. We are on a podcast right now.
Thank you. What are we talking about? Yeah, that will happen. That will happen where I disassociate and forget where we are. So all right, so that was Army of Darkness. So
I'm trying to herd cats here.
Wait, if you forget things, you love Army of Darkness. Yeah.
I love Army of Darkness. Okay, so Jerry, I know you said you had a drinking game plan. Is that something we're gonna do now, or are we?
Yeah,
you
we're gonna
going to
do
the
it.
next
Yeah, we're
movie?
gonna do it right now. Yeah,
Good.
I figured it.
Before I get sloppy, let's do this game.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm hurting cats to begin with, so it's getting it's getting difficult. So yeah, so I have a little drinking game here, Josh, that we're going to play here, and it's going to be really really easy, and the rules are going to be easy. I don't know if the results are going to be easy. And I did a little tester before when I was asking you about, what kind of like, authors do you like? What kind of directors do you like? To give me a sense of, where your head's at. So I think I got some good choices here. So this drinking game is very simple. It's called horror author or horror director. That's it. All you have to do is once I give you a name, is to tell us if it's an author or a director. If you get it right, we drink. If you get it wrong, you drink. Are you down?
Oh my gosh. I feel horribly. All right.
So these are not the most famous in either, but they are famous. So people listening may know. So these aren't the most obscure directors or authors. Just to set the tone here. So if you're ready, we're gonna play. So if you get it right, we drink. You get it wrong, you drink. Are you ready?
Hold on. Let me get Google ready. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm kidding. No, I'll be honest. I'll be honest and authentic. I got you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's figure out real quick how this is gonna go. Ready? Jack Ketchum.
Oh my gosh, guys. I'm going to get really drunk. I'm going to go author.
Damn.
Correct. We drink. Okay.
Now,
Joe
did he actually
Begos.
did he direct a movie? Didn't he direct? No, he didn't. You're right. He just wrote that movie. I was thinking of that movie that was really hard to watch about the girl
Yes,
that gets
really
Yeah,
difficult.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, that was
Girl Next Door.
Oh, that's a brutal movie.
Girl Next Door. Yeah. It's actually one of my favorite writers. All right. Joe Begos.
Director.
Yeah. Got it right again.
And for those of you who haven't listened, like, Jerry makes these games that end up screwing him. However, somehow I got lumped in with him, and now I'm getting screwed also.
you got
which is not fair.
lumped in. That's it. It's all
Love
right.
it.
It's okay. We're moving along. We're moving along. Well, listen, we're gonna get into the meat of things. So here we go. Ready?
All right.
Harlan Ellison.
I'm going to say writer.
I hate you, Jerry.
You're right again. God damn it.
Am I just getting lucky as all HE double hockey sticks or what?
We're gonna find out. All right. Linda Addison.
Writer.
Damn it. Rich drink.
Over 4.
So right now you got 4, and I'm
Four
gonna
for
need another
4.
drink after this. Okay. All right. Joe Hill.
Director.
That's an author. You drink.
Oh shit.
Ah.
You're doing really, really good. So all right, ready? Padraig Reynolds.
Ooh, never heard of that. Director.
Right.
I just figured that was 3 authors in a row. I'm going on patterns
No,
here.
there's no way to logically
There's
to
no
figure this
there's no
out.
pattern. There's really no pattern though. All right. But that was good thinking, but there was really no pattern. All right, ready? Joyce Carol Oates.
It's 3 names. I'm going to go author.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah, right. Is there a
Wow,
director with 3
you
names?
got
I
it
don't think that
right.
exists.
Anna Lily Amapour.
I'm going to go same logic. 3 names. Author.
Actually, okay, never mind. That is a director with 3 names.
Director.
Ah!
Yeah,
I forgot
director.
Cheers.
Oh, I
Cheers.
drank. I don't know why I drank.
All right, got a couple more here.
Wait.
you,
pause.
you forgot the rules already.
Well, pause. Yeah, every time I drink, isn't there supposed to drink? So you
not for this. No. You drink.
No.
Not for this portion. This falls outside the normal rules.
Yes.
All right.
Because otherwise you'd be drinking with me.
Otherwise he's just
actually,
drinking.
Yeah, I give up. All right, back to the game. Back to the game.
It's all right. Let me wrap this up here. Ready? Matt Bettinelli Olpen.
Author.
That's a director.
Woo. So there's a lot.
Did
See?
Scream.
There was a lot. All right,
I tricked you.
Yeah, see? I told you there's no All right. Here we go. Ready? One more. Monica Ojeda.
Writer.
Correct.
And Josh is like getting ready to pour like before he gives his answer. Like that's how unconfident he was.
He's getting ready to pour, but there's keep pouring, Josh, because we're about to switch it up. So
Okay.
You feeling lucky, Rich?
Well,
yeah,
I was listening. I was listening to your last podcast, and I was like, which was phenomenal, by the way. And I know you said every time he said film, you had a drink. So I'm like, dude, if that's the same, And it's like every time I say Halloween, you have to drink. I was gonna say Halloween, 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 Halloween,
No,
Halloween.
we didn't do that this
We
time.
we learned a horrible lesson. Yeah, we learned a very, very bad lesson on that one. And
Yeah, that was
yeah.
brutal
All right,
because
so
he
we
said
have a few
werewolf
more.
very often. That was rough. All right,
100
so wait, so
times.
here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna
All right,
ask
so listen,
me,
let me corral this. I'm gonna
okay.
ask you, and if you get it right, me and Josh will drink. But if you get it wrong, you drink.
Hold on.
You
Let me
got
get
that?
this straight. You're asking a filmmaker to identify an author or a director?
Yeah, but this is me we're talking about here. I'm not that smart.
I'm
All right, I'm in.
I
I'm
think I
game.
know what he knows.
It's not much.
I know what he knows. So
And I don't know authors. I really don't know authors really well.
So-
Unfortunately, I'm very not literate. I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but I don't read very often. I'm
Don't
busy
you have a
grinding. I don't have time to
literary
read.
degree?
I don't have time to
you have a
read.
degree in
I do have a
literature.
degree in English, but that doesn't mean I read.
You do, yeah. Okay. All right. Are you ready? Can we do this? Can we finish this up and
All
move
right,
on?
fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, you ready? All right. Grady Hendrix.
Director.
Wrong.
Damn, see?
Drink.
What do I know?
Rich
English
drinks.
degree's garbage. Hofstra University should be ashamed.
Christopher Smith.
I'm gonna say author.
Director. You
Oh,
0-2.
Jesus Christ.
Drink again.
This is like the worst night of my life.
You see what I'm saying, Josh? I think I know what he knows.
Yeah, I do not
All
know
right, ready?
anything.
Jerry, you're the man.
Lucky McKee.
Oh, director. Okay. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a director. We
Okay.
drink, Josh.
All right. Stephen King.
All right.
Give me something like
No,
that.
I'm throwing a softball at you here. Ready? Ray Bradbury.
Author.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, you got to give me something here. Come on. I'm getting trashed over here. We still got 2 movies to talk about.
All right, we got one last one here. You ready?
All right. Hold on. Let's do a double or nothing on this one. 2 sips.
What? Double or nothing? You want to
Fuck
do
it.
double or nothing?
I do. Yeah.
No,
I'm feeling good.
let's
I got one right. I'm feeling
do
good.
triple. Let's do triple.
All right,
Let's do triple or
nothing.
nothing.
3 seconds.
3
Fuck
sips.
it.
3
Let's do it.
sips. 3 sips. Okay.
Don't say
You
Josh
ready?
Spero. Just kidding.
Damn. Who is that? I forget already.
All right, here we go. All right, we could be in trouble here, Josh, if he gets this right. So let's hope he gets it wrong. Gregory Plotkin.
You made that up.
I did not make that up.
Shit. 50-50 chance. Flipping my imaginary coin. I'm gonna say director.
You son of a bitch.
Oh,
You got it
come
right.
on.
The
That's
magic
right.
coin works every
Oh.
time.
Here's to my sobriety.
man.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
All right, I survived that, but barely.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh, these are horrible.
Ooh-wee.
yeah, that sucked. As much as I love Jerry's games, I also hate Jerry's games at the same time, and this is no different. So, all right, let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about Shaun of the Dead. I'm gonna pull my notes up while I'm
Yes.
talking about this one. 2004 Shaun of the Dead. As I said earlier, we are about to approach where we're in the 20th anniversary of the film. And I do remember seeing this when it came out. I think I saw this in theaters, and I definitely liked it a lot the first time I saw it, because when I saw it, like, there really was nothing like this. And there were a ton of zombie movies out. I believe the Dawn of the Dead remake just had come out, which I was not a fan of, but there was a lot of zombie stuff happening. And this is like, while Army of Darkness was probably one of the first like horror comedy kind of movies, this was the first one in a while anyway, and the first one that was really effective. So the plot really quick of Shaun of the Dead is Shaun, who is kind of this loser-ish guy, just wants to go to the pub all the time and drink and has no ambition, works at an electronics store, no one respects him, girlfriend hates him, kind of like is going nowhere in life. And then all of a sudden a zombie infestation takes over England, and Shaun becomes the unlikely hero, where he goes to rescue his ex-girlfriend amongst some other people. And their plan, which I think is a brilliant one, is they're going to go to the pub and hide out at the pub and wait for everything to blow over. And I do love that, and it's probably what I would do. It unfortunately doesn't work out as well as they planned, but that was the plan. And I will say, again, as I said, I didn't like this movie as much as I liked it when I originally saw it. I think this is a comedy movie with a lot of horror elements, and it's very apparent the filmmakers, Simon Pegg and why can't I think of the filmmaker's name? Edgar Wright. We're definitely fans of the Romero zombie trilogy. There are lots of nods to it throughout. which I respect. I like that they, you could tell they were fans and kind of wanted to just put their spin on the movie in their comedic way. So I really respect that, and it was cool to see these little things throughout, such as there's the scene where the one guy who's like this nerdy asshole guy gets like dragged out of the pub and he's getting ripped open by the zombies, and like that was definitely like a Dawn of the Dead tribute. What else did they have? Oh, what was funny? I read this as a fact. So there's a scene where Nick Frost, who is Simon Pegg's best friend, who is this kind of loser.
Oh, Ed. Yeah.
Ed, his layabout is on the phone and he's talking to Shaun's mom, and he's like, "We're coming to get you, Barbara," and like it's total reference to
yeah.
And what I thought was funny is
mate.
they actually showed the movie to George Romero, and for whatever reason he didn't pick up on that reference. Like he loved the movie, but just didn't click with him that they were kind of like giving him homage.
Hey, I'm gonna throw myself under the bus, and
Yeah.
I just realized that reference as you said it right now.
Oh, get out of here!
I didn't realize.
Yeah, so Nick Frost and Simon Pegg have done a few movies together. This is the first one, I believe, that they did their first feature film. They wanted to do Hot Fuzz and World's End. I would say I've never seen Hot Fuzz. I'm a fan of World's End though, or At World's End. So Josh, you picked this movie. Tell us what you love about it.
I just love comedy and horror, and I love campiness. And this was the first film where they brought English humor into like horror films. I'm just such a huge Simon Pegg and Nick Frost fan. They're just phenomenal people and phenomenal actors, and their comedy's so on point. And I saw it in the theater, and man, did I fall in love with it. I thought the humor was spot on. I thought obviously the effects were amazing. I thought as a film, it had every element I would want in a horror film, in a comedy, in both, and they stand up in both. So many quotable moments. I mean, quotable moments. Like my favorite scenes of it by far are when he goes to see if the coast is clear and he steps up that little like side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was fun. You just see his legs kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then he looks down and he has that straight look when he comes down. Like absolutely brilliant. So like little subtle humor like that is what gets me going, and I get so excited for it. It's just intelligent little like plots, and this is full of that. What don't I like about it, man? This is definitely one of my top 10. I wouldn't say top 5, but definitely top 10. It just scratches that comedy and horror like part that I love. And again, if anybody's getting to know me on this podcast, I'm a huge sucker for unlikely heroes, right? If you watch, not to spoil anything, if you watch my second favorite movie, which you better, Rich, I will hunt you down, sir. In Big Trouble in China, you will see the unlikely hero. I'm just a huge sucker for unlikely heroes, and there's no more unlikely hero than Shaun in Shaun of the Dead.
Man, what a bunch of lovable characters in this film. It's not even just Shaun. It's Ed. I like the girlfriend Liz, I even like David, that kind of dicky guy that's in love with her. I think all these characters are just really interesting, and like you said, Josh, they're all like subtly kind of like funny. There's like a lot of little nuances that like kind of get you like laughing to yourself. I really like that scene where after Liz breaks up with Shaun, so him and Ed are sitting in the Winchester and they're just like getting ripped up. Like that night, Shaun sleeps in like a kitchen chair, and like to me it's like shit, this guy was drunk, man. He was so wasted that he fell asleep like sitting straight up in a chair, and he just like wakes up the next morning. I mean, it's just like it's things like that it feels real, but you're like, man, this guy he's just like wasted. I find humor like that like super super funny when when they first experience the zombie, and they see the woman zombie in the garden, and they just think she's like drunk. they're like making fun of her, they're taking pictures. I mean, it's stupid things like that, but it's funny, and it works, and I really like it. There's so many things I liked about this film. I think I watched it too, like probably when it came out. I don't know if I saw it in the theater. I can't remember that long ago. It's a lot of bourbon and bong
20
resin since
years.
then,
Yeah.
but but I watched it a lot. I watched it often. I'm a huge fan. I think even during that time, I feel like Simon Pegg really had his moment like right then before he did like bigger things like Star Trek and things like that. I think this was like his moment where he was like such a star. I really like this film.
One thing I love is that like how incompetent they all are. And you watch a lot of these like zombie movies, and I always wonder like because I always think if there were like a zombie infestation, like the people that are going to survive are like military people, like MMA fighters. Like it's not going to be the lovable kind of guy. And like these people are people like how do they survive? Like they can't even like kill a zombie really. Like there's like one scene in the bar where they're all just like hitting it with like I forget what, but various pool sticks, right? But they're not even hitting it in the head. They're just like kind of hitting it like and like they've learned nothing. Like they're just a bunch of fools, but like it works, right? And like you think that of all the people that could have survived, it's like these five people, right? It's like five of them. It's like these five people or whatever, and like they're like the most unlikely of people that would survive all of this stuff, but somehow they get through, or some of them get through. Not everybody makes it, unfortunately. One thing I think I would have
I mean,
liked
there's your
about this
unlikely hero.
yeah, one of the things I would have liked about this movie more is I would have liked more out of the Nick Frost character. I feel like he kind of was a little bit one note, and maybe that was the point because it is about Shaun. But Nick Frost is funny as hell, and I would have liked to see him again do some more stuff rather than kind of just doing the same kind of thing over and over again. And just a funny Nick Frost fact that I found funny was his character scratches himself a lot, and apparently he constantly shaved his balls so he would be itchy. So that way he would have no choice but to scratch himself a lot, which I thought, okay, that's very method. I respect that.
Brilliant. That makes me even happier.
Yeah. So next time you watch it, think about Nick Frost is smooth,
Just junk.
smooth
I mean,
junk.
I thought he was hysterical. I mean, he was like funny to like almost a fault. Like the things that he did were so over the top. Like they're trying to get into the bar, and he takes a phone call.
That was funny. He's trying to so weak.
Like,
he's like, yeah, I'm not holding anything.
Fuck? Yeah, he's like,
that was funny.
Like,
That was really funny.
Like it was. I mean, there was just like such funny things like that, and when he crashes the car just so he could drive the Jaguar, I just like you didn't see it coming at the time, but even like when you rewatch it, I mean, it's like such good humor. I mean, he gets a little annoying at times, but it's like that's the character. He's completely undependable, unreliable. I mean, he plays like the jukebox while they're all kind of hiding out in the Winchester. I mean, like he every mistake he can make, he makes, but it's still it's funny. I love this character a lot.
Almost every role he plays, man, he just has this magneticism. Is that a word?
It is now.
Magnetism. Like it is now, exactly. Magnetism. There you go. There's the right word. Magnetism. To his character, and
Punch in the right word.
there you go. Yeah, exactly. Magnetism. But both of them together, I mean, you can't get enough. That's all there is to it.
Maybe that was it for me. Like I wanted more, I guess. Like and maybe they gave us enough, right? Where it's like it's not Nick Frost's movie, right? He's supporting, but I think I wanted more. And I guess he's that good that I wanted more, because now that you're saying all these different scenes, I'm like, oh yeah, there were like plenty of funny scenes with him involved. So maybe the movie didn't need it, but I think I loved his character. Like I loved him so much that I just want to see more of him.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to move on to the rating part, like you guys know you're going to drink.
I'm scared to move on to the rating part because I know what you're going to say. However, like in the interest of my liver, I think we do need to move on to that. So yeah, let's give it. So Josh, like what out of 0 to 5, how many 5 bloody knives do you give this one?
Shaun of the Dead receives 5 bloody knives.
Ooh. All right, Jerry and I will drink to that. And Jerry just finished his drink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Jerry give his rating while he re-pours.
Yep.
Or do you need ice, Jerry?
Yeah, I'll raw dog it for you.
You'll raw dog
rating.
it. Okay, so why don't give us your rating? Josh and I will drink, and then you will raw dog for mine.
Mm-hmm. I like this film a lot. It really mixes comedy and horror. And this is really like what I expect when it comes to like, a horror comedy. And I don't think they ever really got like too far over the top or too much in one direction. I mean, they really got the balance right. And, that was probably like my dig at Army of Darkness, is that just sometimes it was just like too much. I think they really found the balance in this film. So I liked it a lot. I'm giving it 3.5.
Oh wow. Okay. That's I will drink to the 3.5 right now. Cheers, Josh.
Salute.
Yes. Cheers. It's getting hard to talk.
Oof. All right. So now Jerry's gonna drink right out the bottle, I'm assuming. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna give my rating, which is probably not what you're expecting. Maybe it is, but I actually so again, I think it just needs to be in the right headspace for this movie. And I think when I watched it, I was not, because I do remember being a huge fan of it, and I talked it up like dramatically. And I think back in the day, I probably would have given this a 4. When I watched it the other day, I think I don't know. I wasn't like as into the comedy as I thought I would be. So I'm giving it a 2.5. Next time I
Whoa.
watch it, I might like it more. I think
Wow.
I just for whatever reason, I just was not in the mood. I watched this right after Scouts, which we'll get into in a minute, and I guess I wasn't in the right headspace. So yeah, I'm giving it a 2.5, Jerry. So that's that. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's a good movie. It is a really good movie, and it's very well done, very well written. It is very funny. I just think it wasn't for me when I watched it.
Rich, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is this 2.5 based on the second time you watched it or the first time you watched it?
So I've watched this movie probably 10 times. I've watched it many times over the years. This is based on my last watch 2 days ago.
Mm.
Gotcha. So first time it would probably be a 4. Like
Yeah, and I think there's been other times where I loved it. I think for whatever reason, this last time it just wasn't hitting for me. I recommend people watching it for sure. Yeah, I'm not saying don't watch it. Don't listen to me. Like, listen to these guys. It's worth watching for sure. So all right, so
Yeah.
Jerry, drink your
I,
drink.
I- I'm I'm gonna drink my drink and I'm gonna have a little bottle ASMR here. So let
All
me
right,
get a
listen
little
up.
close to the mic here and
Oh yeah, baby. Do
Drinking
it.
Angels out the bottle is tough because of the bottle shape. So I give you credit there.
It's like Das Boot.
Oh, Beer Fest. I love Beer Fest. Beer Fest is funny. So I've been a little sour on these first two movies. Like, they weren't my favorites. We are going to talk about a movie that I surprisingly loved, and I did not think I was going to like this movie. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. And I was telling Josh before we got on the air that Jerry told me about this movie a very long time ago, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to like this movie. It just sounds silly. And I'm also, at the time, I'm like, I'm over zombies. I'm over comedy. Like, that's just not my thing. I'm just not a big comedy fan in general, but I gave it a chance, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I love this movie. And I hadn't seen it since then, and I was wondering, after watching Army of Darkness and Shaun of the Dead, I'm like, am I gonna enjoy this now based on who I am? And yeah, I enjoyed it just as much as I did. And I think one of the things I really like about this movie, and I definitely think the filmmakers and writers saw Shaun of the Dead. They were definitely influenced by that movie for sure, as well as a lot of other things. What I really like about this movie is, while Shaun of the Dead is kind of a comedy movie that has some horror elements, I feel that this is a horror movie that has comedy elements. And what I mean by that is there's lots of scenes that are pretty intense and like high stakes, and there's a lot of like action, and there's some scares, and they throw the comedy in at like the right times. And the comedy, sometimes it's over the top, sometimes it's a little too much, sometimes it's very problematic. But like, I feel like they did a really good job of mixing the two together, where sometimes you forget that you're watching a comedy and sometimes you forget that you're watching a horror movie. And the quick plot of this one is, there are three, I want to say, close friends in high school. They are all Boy Scouts. One is very into Scouts. The other two are not and are trying to break away. And they want to go to this high school rave party for various reasons. And unfortunately, it happens at the same time a zombie apocalypse is happening. And the three Scouts need to use their Boy Scout skills to become unlikely heroes and save the day. And yeah, I love this movie. I think it's the parts that are funny, I think are really funny. The gore and the makeup, for the most part, is really good. There's a lot of blood and just fucked up shit that happens. And there's just a lot of shit that happens that I have never seen before in a movie. Like, there's just some crazy shit. Like the scene where they kill like this stripper zombie, and he like stabs her in the head with a beer bottle, and then blood just kind of pours through the
yeah.
bottle onto him.
Oh
It's just
man.
fucking crazy. Um, So yeah, I enjoyed this movie. And Josh, I think you had never seen this movie before. So tell us what you thought about it.
So, based on the name, there's been a lot. So, I'm a huge comic book fan. I don't know if you guys know that about me. My dad raised me in comic books. My dad and I have a comic book store. It was we were actually ranked in Travel and Leisure magazine as one of the top 5 shops in the nation, which is
Oh
pretty
wow.
cool. We were
Is
number
it still
3.
open?
Yes, 100%. It's called Spero's Heroes, and it's in the San Fernando Valley. It's in Chatsworth, California. And we go. If you're a comic book fan, you need to go. You need to spend a lot of time there because it's just affordable books and a crap ton of them. But make a long story short, there's a lot of this kind of element of like redneck and zombies, or like scouts and zombies, or zombies and cheerleaders, and like all these kind of elements. So I just thought it kind of unfairly, I kind of prejudged it on like, it's just another kind of like group and zombies, like, so based on the name alone, I kind of wrote it off, but I'm like, okay, I'll check it out because it's one of the films we're going to talk about. And I made my wife watch it unfairly, but she's so glad. Yeah, she's so glad we did because I haven't heard her laugh like that in a while. So the penis scene,
That was
the
next on my
penis
list to talk
trampoline
about.
scene.
That was the next thing I was going to bring up. I wanted to start with the beer bottle and then work my way towards that. But yes, the scene
You don't want to
that
go straight to penis.
the scene that Josh is talking about is, and I believe was a homage to Die Hard, is one of our heroes kind of falls out the window and he's looking for something to grab onto. And what does he grab onto? A zombie dick. And as he's holding the zombie dick, and I'm acting this out because people think I'm on video. He's like,
You are.
it's stretching and he's falling and it's getting long. And one of his friends has like the classic line, hang on to that cock, man, which I thought was hysterical. Hang on to that cock, man. So funny. And yeah, that was something I had never seen
I
before.
mean,
And
the scream he lets out
it's a shriek.
was insane, right? Oh my God. Would you do? I would shriek too.
That whole scene had my wife in absolute stitches, which made me absolutely in stitches. And it was so over the top. At that moment, I'm like, holy crap, this is the American Pie of horror films. Like,
Oh, absolutely. That's a great way. That's a great comparison. I didn't even think of that. You're absolutely right. And just Josh, I'm actually glad that you watched this with a female because I'm thinking about this movie and I'm thinking that like it's something that really only appeals to dudes, right? Because it's got a lot of that frat boyish humor, and it's good to know that it does appeal to other genders, other types of people. Because I was wondering about that. I was wondering like how does this play for like a woman, like where it's like again a lot of like dick jokes, and I mean not a lot, but like enough, right?
Scatological.
Scatological humor, yeah. And just horny boy humor, it's like these guys are trying to get laid for the most part. It's American Pie, like you said.
yeah, 100%. And granted, like my wife, who is my ride or die, my soulmate, she's a little bit of a tomboy, but so I don't know, but she absolutely loved this film too. It was done so well, right? So it's the same in the music industry, right? It's about creating that $1 million garage sound, right? So it's the same thing with this film. So like it was that campy, super comedy, hokey, over the top humor, American Pie style, but spending like a good amount on the budget on it. And they did it so well. Again, just the comedy parts had us laughing out loud. I'll pick apart the plot in a second because there's no reason why the main star, Ty Sheridan, should end up with the sister versus the main chick. Like I think we all felt that.
The stripper,
Like that,
right? He should have ended up with.
dude.
Oh, so
What is it?
He should have ended up with a
Denise.
stripper, right? Yeah.
Well, not the stripper. She was a
Cocktail waitress, right?
Yeah,
Cocktail
hello.
waitress. That's right.
But 100%, she was the most hardcore real. She was into him. He would have had so much more fun with her for sure.
Same. I would have picked the cocktail waitress any day.
Any day. First of all, she's smoking, dude. Like, what was that? Sarah Dumont, was it? Was that the girl? I think it was the actress's name. And man, she was smoking in that film, dude. Like, yeah, I don't know why.
I think she was like 22.
No, they were the same age, I think. I think they were supposed
they
to
weren't.
be. Weren't they the same age?
No, he was 16.
Oh,
No, she left school 2 years.
In real
No.
life, no, she's totally older than Ty Sheridan. But yeah, she kind of looked the part too, and she looked a little older. But man, they had her rocking in that film, and I'm like, dude, he would be an idiot not to take her through the whole thing, and then at the end, he ended up with the sister. I'm like, why? Like, okay, wow, that I would have written that way differently, but yeah, but he ended up with her. But um, I digress. I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the funniest films. I thought it was done so well. And let's face it, like, okay, I'm going to slaughter his name. I always do, but David Kochner.
The scout leader, right? Yeah.
Name one film that he's done that he wasn't great in.
He's awesome. Have you seen Cheap Thrills?
I have.
Yeah, he's great in that. I love that movie.
Man, is he phenomenal. And he does not disappoint in this film either. I thought he was great. I thought he was a great sport in this. Obviously, he wasn't one of the main stars, but his character was so on point, and he delivers it perfectly. I don't think there was one weak point in any of the actors in this film.
Yeah, I don't think so. I
No.
think my only complaints with this movie, and it's like very few, is just I feel like some scenes were just a little too over the top for me. But I get,
Like
but
what?
it's an over the top movie. Like the scene where the one scout's fighting David Koechner, and like there's like Dolly Parton music playing. It's like
Yeah, that was hysterical.
it was just too much for me. Like I guess, but like, and again, this is me nitpicking. I'm like I love this movie. Like I'm just picking things that like I wish that didn't happen kind of thing, or I wish it was a little more subtle because there's so much over the top stuff. And like I love how this movie gets you like right from the beginning, like that opening scene with like the guy from the Workaholics who's like the janitor, and he's like mopping up, and they're playing that Iggy Azalea song, and he's dancing. It's like that's
Song,
funny.
yeah.
That's funny. It's like not what you expect. Like I right away I was like, holy shit, what is this movie? And then I love the juxtaposition of the scene with him where he's trying to revive like the first zombie, and he's like struggling, and all this bad shit's happening, and then like the scientist is like in the next room getting Takis, like it's just like they're, like fucking with the
Fuego.
vending machine,
With the vending machine that's broken. Yeah.
yeah, like it's just so funny. He's like doing this. Meanwhile, there's like life and death shit happening like right across the wall. It's like they were really smart about it. And again, like I am just nitpicking because it's like we have a show and I gotta like say everything. But if I had to pick like one complaint, it was just there are a couple things. But then some of the overtop stuff I liked. Like I thought it was really funny when there's that zombie, and I think this was very similar to what they did in Shaun of the Dead, where like the zombies are like groaning and they're groaning back in like a beat, where there's the zombie and they start singing that Britney Spears song, and like the zombie singing back, like ridiculous, but it worked. I actually thought that was like really clever and funny. So again, it's just I love the movie.
So and going into it too, because I think we could all relate where the kind of like the least popular of the three is trying to save the other two, and then he trips over, was it the car or whatever? And my wife instantly was like, "Yep, that would be me." Like I feel like, and I felt the same way. I'm like, that would totally be my stupid ass, like causing the attention or calling the attention of all the zombies and delivering that. So there was a lot of elements of that too, which is like, yep, that's kind of how it would happen if if I were in that situation. My dumb ass would be so focused on the zombies that I'd trip over something for sure.
And I love how the way they use music too. Like they pick such like songs that don't fit and like make sense. Like again,
Soldier Boy
the
song.
Soldier Boy, exactly. I started cracking up the second I heard that. I'm like, why is that making me laugh? But it is like they're all of a sudden like they're playing Soldier Boy really loud, and it's attracting the zombies.
That was like my car when I was like 17.
I thought that was so funny. And I also liked how they like did like the scout thing wasn't just a gimmick. Like they used their scout skills. Like they tie the condoms into like this thing to get the keys, and then they to break out of the prison cell. And then of course they get the keys, and what happens? Like the least likable guy runs in, knocks him in the fucking drain. Like it's super funny. Like I don't know.
Wait a minute. I like that guy Augie. I think
yeah,
he was
he looks like an
source
Augie.
of so much humor. I mean, he was hysterical when he goes to Scout Leader's Roger's house, and all of a sudden, like all those beans and hot dogs kind of kick in. He has to take that dump, and like he has to open the window, and like the zombie almost grabs him. But then he walks out and he sees like the Scout Leader, and the Scout Leader is groaning. It's like, yeah, I know it's gross, because he's talking about the smell of this like of the shit he just took, and like he's still thinking that he's not even thinking zombie. And to me, it was like that sort of humor that like it really resonated. It was so funny, and I think it made that character really funny. And I think he was a bit of an unlikely hero himself. He was definitely in there fighting with the best of them in the gym, and he had a little bit of, I think, a little dark side to him because he did build a bomb. So he was willing to, yeah, like he was gonna like he was willing to just like do like some sort of suicide bombing, and I think that I don't know if they were trying to give us another layer to the character, but I thought that was pretty dark, to go that direction, and I'm glad they didn't uh go that way, and because it looked like there was really no escape at that moment and impossible odds. So I'm glad they didn't go that way, but he definitely went there. So it was a little disturbing, I think.
So it's funny you guys say that. If you guys are really picking apart movies, I would say that that scene was the first. I'm like, whoa, okay, that just got real. You know, what I mean?
Mm.
Like it went from like this fun flowing movie to like a, oh my
Got
god, that
dark.
guy's gonna like do it all in, and he was prepared to do it all in. Like he was planning to do it all in. Like, wow, you know what I mean? I thought they could have done something more lighter, kind of like, you know, throwing like make his own grenade kind of deal. But my guy said, no, we're gonna blow it all up. And I'm ready to
Yeah.
do it. I'm ready to die for the scouts, you know? And I'm like, okay.
Scouts for life.
I like to think he became the scout leader following the the incident,
I mean, they need a new one,
once the zombie
so
infestation. Yeah, so I feel like he really took over. I don't know if Ben and Carter stuck with it, but I feel like he did. But I thought he was really funny, and I mean I really thought like all the characters were like, oh man, they're super funny, and I think everyone has like the same impression. They see the name, it sounds stupid, you kind of think you know what you're gonna get, but I think there's a lot more to it. I think the gore is really really good. I think the horror elements are awesome, but I think the humor is good too, and. Now I have a real question for the both of you. There was a lot of nudity in this film, but it was zombie nudity. So does that count as nudity?
the ever-growing debate as to does dead body nudity count as nudity, right? I'm going to say it does not count. And while
Even the
it's
stripper zombie.
yeah, while it's a nice to have, I don't it's tough. I don't think it counts because I think for it to count as nudity, it's got to be something. Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna get slammed for this. I'm gonna say it doesn't count. Josh, what do you think it counts?
See, I represent the opposite. I think it does, but that's not a bad thing. So let's go back, and I just like referencing movies. Let's go back into the 13 Ghosts, right? With the chick that gets chopped up. I mean, does her nudity count? I mean, she has fake boobs, right? They're popping out everywhere. I mean, they're cut up, but I'd say that counts.
With an asterisk. It counts with an asterisk.
It's tough. It's
So,
tough.
and especially in this sense where he like grabs the fake boobs and he's running away.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I know.
think the
I mean, it
fake-
was
first of all,
hysterical.
It was
great,
funny. It was
great.
funny as hell.
I mean, my guy's like the Stifler, right? Carter was like the Stifler.
Yeah,
Yep.
Like, he really was. I mean, he runs up, he grabs the boobs, takes that right, and then runs off. First of all, that's such a teenage thing to do. I think if I was a teenager, I would do the exact same thing if I were in the situation.
I'm
Like,
not going to
I
admit to
could
that
resist.
because I don't want to get canceled. Because that zombie
I mean-
did not consent.
Can zombies consent? I mean,
That's the bigger question, right? Can zombies consent?
I guess not because they can't really talk, right? But it was a great scene nonetheless.
It
especially when
was
he's
funny
running
as
away.
hell.
Yeah, when he's running away and he's saying, "I think they were fake." Like it's so funny. It's so good. We just enjoyed it thoroughly, man, and we were not expecting
was
to.
good.
And then even the scene, I'm dying. I was dying when I watched it. The scene with the neighbor, where the neighbor sneaks in, but he like hates that old lady neighbor. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're like fighting it. That scene was great. Like they really thought it out well. They acted it out well. They put in the right time into writing the script, and man, did we enjoy it.
So one thing that I didn't catch, and I looked it up because I always wondered, like the old lady bites the one guy in the ass, and I always wondered why he didn't turn into a zombie. And I guess I missed this because it
Dentures.
happened fast. The dentures fly out, and I just like looked away and I missed that, and I was like, wait, what happened? Why is he not a zombie? And
She's
you gotta pay
gumming her
attention.
ass.
Yeah, you gotta
Or his ass.
come in his ass.
Is that who they kill with the window? Oh, that was so brutal. And that's where like the horror element comes in. So first you're laughing that she's trying to bite him without her dentures, so he's not going to become a zombie. And then one of the most vicious kills, like in the film with the window. I mean, that was sick. I was like, holy shit, man. That was a good scene. I think I rewound that to watch that head pop.
All right. Well, I hate to end on someone gumming someone's ass, but we do need to wrap this up. Having a blast with Josh tonight, but I just realized we talked for like 2 hours, and it is getting late on the East Coast where Jerry is. So like, let's wrap this one up. I know this is gonna be a brutal one because I think we're all going to rate this film high. So let's start with Jerry. Give your rating, and Josh and I are gonna take a few sips.
I mean, I picked this film, and then I mentioned this was one of my favorite zombie films when we did the Romero episode, and rewatching it again, it still is. I mean, it's fast, it's funny, it's gory, it's dumb, it's juvenile. I mean, it's what you want sometimes, you know. Not every movie has to be like Citizen Kane or like a Scorsese film to be good. It could just be fun and stupid, and that's exactly what this movie is, and it has all the gore that you could possibly want. So, yes, this is still in my top three zombie films. I'm giving it a big 4.5.
Woo! All right. You know what? Like before you drink, Josh, I'm gonna give my rating so Jerry will drink. And I'm actually going to give it the same thing. I'm giving it a 4.5. So we're all going to drink for 4.5
Wow.
seconds now. So let's cheers to that.
Salute.
Ah.
Ah,
Oh man. Ooh.
Yeah, and now, as if that
Long
wasn't
night.
enough, we do have a guest here, and that guest is going to give his rating, and Jerry and I are going to finish the night, or try to finish the night strong without throwing up. So, Josh, what do you give this 0 to
yes, no puke guarantee.
5?
I loved it. It's for me, right? This is me speaking. It's not Army of Darkness. It's not Shaun of the Dead. But I do give it a solid 4 bloody knives because I was pleasantly surprised. Surprised. You like that?
That's the whiskey.
There's the alcohol talking. Pleasantly
What happens to every guest.
surprised. Yes. But 4 bloody stars or 4 bloody knives.
All right, cheers.
With you. Cheers.
Mm.
I have
So
a-
we're at the end here, and Josh had one more liquor he was going to pour, but unfortunately we ran out of time. And what Josh is holding up is the Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve, and I say Caribbean, not Caribbean, single malt Scotch whiskey. And I was really curious to know how that was, but we are out of time, so we're gonna have to have Josh on again so he could pour that and talk about it. So anyway, so this is Josh Spero. His book hall-lore-ween is out. You get it at Barnes and Noble and some other places. Josh, give us let everybody know again where to find that and where to find you.
Appreciate you. Guys, find the book on any major platform, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any bookstore has access to it. Here's a little something that I didn't tell you earlier. I'm in communication with my publisher about getting on Audible as well.
Nice.
So it will be on Audible, which is cool.
Are you going to be the one reading it?
You know, that's what we're trying to determine. I might give a creepy voice when I read it too, you know,
Awesome.
like be some kind of like authentic like actor reader, but it will be on Audible, just not yet. But for now, get it any major platform, any online, anything like that. Again, hall-lore-ween, for all Halloween lovers, you must buy this book. Give it some love. Support, small horror. Support small writers of horror. I hope you guys absolutely love it. Anybody who reads it, please hit me up on Instagram on HALL_LORE_WEEN and follow me. Tell me everything you think about it. But yeah, that's my book, guys. I hope you guys love it.
Awesome. Well, everybody check that out. Again, you could find us, the Horrorheads, at Horrorheads Podcast on Instagram, or you can email us your love and hate at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. And that's it. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. It was a lot of fun hanging with you. And even though we didn't agree on every movie, it was definitely a blast, and loved hearing your perspective. I'm not sure what we're doing the next episode, Jerry. Have we figured that out yet? Or we got to figure that out?
Yes, we're going to have another guest, and I think it's going to be pretty wild. And we're going to talk about their movie that just came out, and they're doing like a 16 theater tour for. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But outside of that, it's not really decided. So Definitely stay tuned. And if you guys like what you hear, definitely give us, a like on Instagram, give us a nice rating on Spotify. We need that. We need to support all these smaller artists like ourselves and Josh. And when you get a chance, put down that technology, man, and take turns reading a story from Josh's book and really immerse yourself into the spooky, cozy mood that he creates. I think you'll all love it because Rich and I, we definitely loved it. We've been talking about it all week. So it was a blast having you here, Josh. And thank you so much, man, for being here.
Gentlemen, it was an honor. Rich, Jerry, like, you guys are phenomenal. Yeah, anytime. I'm very glad to come back, throw in the mix, give a different perspective on things. And yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you. Or you could listen
you.
to our podcast while reading Josh's book. You could do both. Kill two birds at one stone. All right, cool. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good night.